But these rich don't want paper. It's time to talk about trauma. It's time to talk about trauma. It's time to talk about trauma. What is up, pioneers? So I feel like since I talked about hypervigilance last week and I've been on this mental health kick, I figured today we could talk about our friendly neighborhood trauma. The thing that everybody got, not a lot of people want to admit to, but we're here, it's in our face, and we should talk about it. And I feel like it's especially important as Black people. Why? Because we have trauma from just existing, from our history and how we even came to be in this country. And not only that, but the way in which we were treated when we got here, and then the way that generationally we've been treated all the way down to us, and even the young little alphas. I feel like trauma is one of those things that, like, you know, growing up for me, it was just like, don't talk about the things that's going on in our house, or like, don't tell people that we don't have everything together, that we're not perfect, so nobody needs to be in our business, so we never talked about it, right? But I feel like there are so many different things and experiences that unites us as people that we've gone through that have been traumatizing. Also, let me make a disclaimer. Trauma is anything that you've experienced that you did not feel like you were emotionally equipped to handle. And I don't know about you, but I feel like that could be a wide range of things, because again, there's so many different experiences that we have, A, but also B, not that many people actually like equip many humans with the tools to emotionally handle things. I feel like people don't pay attention to the fact that they're literally many humans and they don't have a blueprint as to what things are supposed to be like when they experience certain experiences with other people. And so they're just like, I don't know what to do with this situation, so I'm just gonna suppress it, pretend it didn't exist, not process it at all, act out. There's just so many different ways that many humans, and I was one of them, didn't know how to deal with things, and just presents that. Personally, I feel like there were so many of my experiences. I'm not good with change, and so honestly, most changes felt like trauma to me because I wasn't able to emotionally deal with it. So like going from preschool to kindergarten, a whole new school, going from every single grade for like the first 3 years, and it was just like, this is a new person. I just got used to this old person. Felt like a lot. And then I think too, like when I was in kindergarten, I had a best friend. Her name was Zaina. That's all I remember. And she moved, I think. And I didn't know how to deal with it. Like, I was so sad that she left. And I remember we had a mural in our school, and I would be like, oh, this is my house and this is Zaina's house, and I don't get to see Zaina anymore because she moved all the way over there. Y'all, I don't know what I was going through, but I missed my little bestie. I guess I was feeling some type of way, but I don't think I ever actually expressed that to any adults or anything, because I really didn't know what I was doing. And I feel like there's so many different things too, like transitions, because I went from the elementary school where I knew everybody to a new middle school where I knew nobody. So I had to make friends off rip. And that wasn't like traumatic in the sense of like, oh, this is a big thing, but it was kind of like a difficult transition because I didn't know how to like make friends. Granted, I did, but I was just like, oh my God, there's a new place with new people. And I know I chose that because I was being hard-headed and stubborn, typical Jasmine. But I didn't know how to handle it, and I was just like, but like I had an established set of friends, and they all went to this one middle school, and it was the middle school that my sister was known for. And if you're a younger sibling, you know what it's like when people identify you as your older sibling's youngest sibling everywhere. Like, oh, you so-and-so little sister. I'm Jasmine. I'm Jasmine. I am Jasmine. And so I was so upset about the fact that I was her little sister and I could not be my own person, that I was just like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to this middle school where nobody knows that you exist so that I can be Jasmine. And I got my wish. I was Jasmine, but Jasmine didn't have no friends for a minute there. Jasmine was really shy and awkward and thought she was a potato. So like there was just a little smidgen of trauma because I wasn't emotionally equipped to deal with that. But I found my way. I made friends. It's totally fine. And then my father passed away. Talk about not being able to emotionally deal with that. And I will say, I feel like as Black people, that's one of the things. I'm making a video about it because I feel like when someone passes, there's so many different ways that we as a culture cope with it. But one of the ways that I really needed was for it to be talked about. Again, People don't talk about trauma, but they also don't talk about people that are deceased after they're gone either. And so it was just like, I lost my father twice. Not only was he no longer here, but now we don't talk about him anymore. And I feel like for me, like that was really hard, because I'm sure I had 1,000,001 things that I wanted to say, could have said, that I felt like didn't get expressed, but that's not what they do. So my biggest thing with trauma is, it's important to talk about it. Sometimes it can be painful. There are wide ranges of trauma, from little things like moving schools to big things like a death in the family, suicide attempts, extreme depression, sexual assault. Like there's so many different traumas. There's some attempted robbery, PTSD, like so many different traumas that we can experience. But I think the biggest thing is, we can't process it and deal with it if we don't process it and deal with it. And it's just going to be sitting there on the shelf waiting for us to do so. And I feel like us not processing it just kind of leaves that unfinished thing, where we feel like not the most whole version of ourselves, because it's like, oh, there's that one thing in the closet. If we just clean that, then we might be somewhere. The second thing I'd say is, you're not alone. I feel like a lot of times when traumatic things happen and we feel like we're not emotionally equipped to handle it, that we think that it's just us, we're isolated, nobody else gets it, nobody else understands, but you are not alone. Like I've said, trauma happens to everybody. It is the one thing that I believe is universal across the board. Trauma happens. There's just too many things to experience in life for nobody to have no trauma. Now, I will say that there are, again, some people who get it processed early and, deal with it with little to no repercussions, and that's cool. My third thing, speaking of which, is to process it, handle it, deal with it however you see fit. If that's a mental health professional, if that's talking to your friend, if that's journaling, doing your own self-searching with God, like whatever that may look like. And also be honest with God, because I feel like a lot of times when it comes to trauma, we have this like anger, but it's like, oh no, you can't be mad at God. Yes, you can, because he knows your heart and he knows that you're mad. Like, he knows. So don't even be like, oh no, I can't say this or I can't do that. God knows though. Like that's why I've never understood people are like, oh, you can't do this. And it's just like, but God knows my heart. God knows my thoughts. He knows I'm mad. He knows I didn't appreciate this experience, or I might not have been as keen to this, or I might be like, seriously, why did this happen? Like, I don't like this. He knows your whole heart, like the whole shebang. So just tell him about it, talk to him about it. I think that was a big turning point for me with like processing stuff, is to just be like, God, okay, so this happened, and like I didn't really appreciate the fact that you did this, but then like, like hindsight, I see how it's good for your glory. Because a lot of times too is, because trauma is something that most people experience, all people experience, it's also something that unites us. It's something that I feel like makes us stronger, promotes our growth, even though it's really stupid. And I honestly kind of sort of sometimes wish that it was not a thing. But I mean, I think of all the things that I've gone through, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that because I've gone through a wide range of things, I'm more relatable to people, because it's like, oh yeah, girl, I did that, I've been through that, I said that, I did that, saw that happen, all of that. So it's just like, there's not much. There is some things that I'm like, nah, look, I ain't do that. But again, I'm not gonna judge you, because I feel like I've been through so much that it's just like, oh, I mean, yeah, I get it. Plus two, I'm a therapist, so I get that life happens and you cope and deal with things. How do you cope and deal with things? Coping is definitely number 4 when it comes to trauma. Get you some good coping skills. Google what coping skills are. Things like journaling, meditating, reading, taking bubble baths. I think that's good coping. Taking care of yourself in general is good coping. Exercising, eating right, even when you're like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like me right now, it's fine. Totally happens. Things like that, I feel like, are the little things that people don't think about when it comes to trauma, especially when you're processing it, that could then in turn turn out to be the big things. Make sure that you're being kind to yourself. Number 5. Trauma's hard, and I know it can be easy to just be like, well, you could handle that situation better to yourself, or like, oh, you so dumb, because if you would have did X, Y, and Z, then you wouldn't have. I need you to stop that if you're doing that, because like I said, trauma's hard. Things happen, and we don't, hindsight's always 20/20, as my mother taught me. And it's just like, it can be very easy after the fact to be like, oh, I should have did X, Y, and Z, or I should have seen this, but you didn't have that information and was not privy to that information in the morning and in that moment, and we can only do the best that we can in that moment. and you always have done the best that you could in that moment. Sometimes it might not be what you thought it should have been. Sometimes you might find new skills and you're like, oh, well, I could have used this then. You could have, but you have this now, so then moving forward, you do have it. Yeah, no, it sucks. It's hard. Process it. It's needed. Growth, healing, success. Now I'm throwing out buzz adjectives. Are those adjectives? No. Nouns? I'm not good at this. I mean, I am, but I'm not. But I am. I think that's it. If you guys have any comments or questions, put them in the comments below. Let me know if you've had similar traumatic experiences. I don't know. Different traumatic experiences. Love to talk about it because that's what unites us, and talking about it is helpful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next Monday.